Are we together so far? Just put Job 38 verse 4, and I want to show you something. You know, I remember ethology is the study of what? Animal behavior, right? Anthropology is the study of human beings, or history, or their history, or behavior. Yeah? Logia is study. Yeah? Most people believe that it starts with what? With Adam in Genesis. Because they have an anthropocentric view of the gospel. Yeah? They think it all begins with what? Human beings. But Genesis is our beginning as human beings, as sons of Adam. It is not the beginning of everything. You get what I'm saying? The gospel is Christocentric. It is about the Christ. There are things he had done before that. That is why I took time to show you in Genesis that actually this was not the formation of the earth, because already the water was there. The Spirit was already hovering over the water. And if water is there, water, we know it doesn't hang in space. There was soil and ground. Yeah? Which takes us now to Job 38 verse 4. Now, remember, in the whole book of Job, Job is arguing all throughout. Actually, this book is believed to be even older than Genesis. Yeah? He's arguing all throughout. Yeah? He says, now, you, the friends who are arguing with me, I don't like you. I don't need you. I need God himself. So God shows up. Yeah? And he's now arguing with what? With this man. Start from verse 1, 38, so that tukanyumirwe. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? You can darken the counsel of God if you speak words without what? Knowledge. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer you me. Where was you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Now, just pause there, because some of you don't think about scriptures. You just run through them like Christopher. Can you imagine? In Genesis, we don't see the foundations of the earth being created. Here they are speaking about them. Meaning God is speaking to Job about a period beyond Adam. Yeah? Which is also wrong to say that you can tell the age of the earth by calculating the years, yeah, of all the people that are in the Bible. The year and the age of Adam doesn't mean that is the age of the earth. Because Adam was made, they don't tell you exactly when he was made. And he was taken in the garden. And the garden is not even Eden. It is a garden in Eden, meaning Eden was there. So do you know how long all those things took place before they take Adam? Of course, they will show you 7 days. Okay, let's take it that it is 7 days. And you count, literally all those things. I'm going to show you some of these things. So I was having someone who has, I used Jeremiah 4, and I was showing you that there was a pre-Genesis chaos. Yeah? That took this, Jeremiah 4:23. And someone was saying, no, that was speaking about Judah. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm saying, okay. I love to answer questions like those. The truth is, yes, it was speaking about Judah, but God used the vision of something that had happened before to Jeremiah to show him what was going to happen concerning Judah. You get what I'm saying? But because sometimes, like I said, I even gave all these proofs of rocks that are dating way beyond, the 6,000 something years that you say, because it is divided between BC and, I've told you there are even issues with calendars. The Jews have a different calendar, they're in a different year. You are also in a different year. Islam's have different calendar. But I'm going to even mess you up, Burunji. Yeah? Okay. I hadn't asked for that one. I'm still explaining these things. We are still at, where were you? Job 38 verse 5. Where? Go, verse 4. Where was you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Yeah? Declare if you have understanding. Go on. Who has laid the measures thereof? Meaning they measured, if you know. Or who has stretched the line upon it? The line there is usually the line of the Mazzaroth. Yeah? I've explained that in my Mystery of the Stars. The line where you get this watch. Yeah? The ones that you call the zodiacs and all of that. They are the ones where you get the watch. So of course there is a bad use of them. But I've told you, when God made these things in the beginning, He saw that everything He had made was good. So you're not here to propagate the bad and the corruption. You are not a devil's agent. You understand? You're here to take back these things as they were. You are here to restore. Because Acts says, which Christ must be holden up until the restoration of all things. You understand? Good news is restoring these things to the original way they were and representing them that way. And then you can be able to deal with these things. Yeah? So that is the line. Go on. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Foundation baziteka kuchi. Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? This earth has a cornerstone. Do you know where it is? So some people have to go and search it out. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Meaning, they are sons of God who were alive when these things were being made. These guys are older than Adam, who was in their council when they were creating them. You get what I'm saying? So we are speaking of things that are true. But as we are speaking about these things, can you be Bereans? Yeah? Now, I told you the whole issue where you're saying we have 2025 years, yeah, was coined by a guy called Archbishop Ashover, and he did it by, yeah, because some of you will say, me, I'm sticking to the Bible. My dear, you're not exactly sticking to the Bible. You're sticking to the Masoretic translation of the Bible. You get it, huh? And some of you worship these things so much. That's why I've told you, even King James, I've showed you issues in King James. Yeah? You have to understand, so long as something is done by human beings, there will always be some biases. Okay? So, okay, let me shock you also. Yeah? Should I say this? I'm just sharing. Okay. Archbishop Ashover goes on and adds all the years of the people in the Bible. And it gives him that we are in 2021, 2025. Now, here is one problem. Did you know? You can do your research. I told you the Septuagint is older. In fact, it was written before even Jesus had come. Yeah? 300 years. Do you know that in the Masoretic text, when you go to all those patriarchs, yeah? The patriarchs in Genesis 5, do you know the Masoretic text, for some reason, it deducted 100 years from each one of them. So where you're reading Adam having 900 years, it is minus 100. So this is the thing I'm telling you. So the Septuagint, for the most part, yeah, it shares the same things, but in that area, for it shares the years in their fullness. Yeah? So who is calculating that we are around 6,000 years when you add AB and BC? Do you know that by just adding those 100, you are missing 1,200 years? You're missing 1,200 years. You're missing those years. So, you can't even verify exactly when the flood of Noah took place by just that. So that's what I'm trying to say. You're not exactly sticking to the Bible. It seems we are just understanding later that information and knowledge is very important. But there are people who made it their business from way back to mislead people. Information is very important. You have no idea. So when the Bible says that knowledge shall increase in our times, it is to deal with some of the lies we've what? Believed for so long. When I say these things, I sound very off, right? Say, this guy. I'm glad someone says, yeah. So what makes us unique? What makes us unique from all these sons of God is not even the miracles. These guys could do better miracles than us. What makes us unique is because of the gospel that saves the soul. You understand? So all of these guys could do miracles, but they had not received the gospel that saves the soul. That is why God says, among them that are born of a woman. Yeah? Moses, Elijah, and all of that. John the Baptist was greater. Why? He was closer to this gospel that saves the soul. You understand? He was heralding and preparing the way for that gospel. But the least in the kingdom was to even appreciate this message better than him, because he died way before Jesus had died. You understand what I'm saying? So that is what makes him what? Greater. So when someone is saying, we are greater than Moses, you have to ask in which aspect? Brother, if they are chasing you, you might not be able to divide the Red Sea. Those guys operated in a particular dimension. We need it. Just that God started by saving our souls for us. You get it, huh? So because we speak these things with no knowledge, we just faith it out. No, Moses, I'm greater. I'm greater. You don't know how and where. You are greater because for you when you die, you don't go in Abraham's bosom, which was Eden caught up in the bosom of Abraham. In Sheol, I mean. That is the bosom of Abraham was caught up in Sheol. That is why the rich guy can see Lazarus. It is not true that when you are in heaven, you are busy looking at hell. Because now paradise was caught up in heaven. That is why when Paul now sees it in the New Testament, he says, I know a man who was caught up in the third heaven, in paradise. He is no longer in Sheol. That is why they could call out Samuel from the dead, and Samuel comes out from the ground. Because but at that time they could die and go down in Abraham's bosom. That is why when he died, he led captivity captive. You understand? And he gave gifts to men. Ephesians 4. That is why when he came out, dead men came out. That is why in Peter, he preached to the souls that had been locked up in prison, in Sheol. What dots mutegere scripture nga ezikola ki wezitambula. Okay? So, I'm just going back. Now, of course, Lucifer is not even a name that is named in the Bible exactly. It is a term that was coined by some guy called Jerome. But basically, he was the morning star. Yeah? That was the thing, a bright one. But I want to share with you again, appreciate some of these things. Among the offspring, yeah, of sons of God and daughters of men were offsprings called the Cyclopeans. Yeah? And the other megalith that I was speaking to you about, yeah, where they are building and constructing a structure, yeah, and the thing is in over, 800 tons, yeah. I was telling you, yeah, imagine an elephant. One elephant, a big one, is just 9 tons. 9. Yeah, in that, whatever I was making a mistake, I was saying 9,000. I was excited. But imagine 9 minus 800. Who was carrying those things? Yeah. So this guy is operated in what they call architecture that is still a marvel. Some of you are just seeing with stones or gamba. How are those things a marvel? Eh? They call it cyclopean what? Architecture. Yeah. But give me some of those stones. What you have to appreciate about these stones. Yeah. As Prophet Christopher is doing his thing. Yeah. Don't give me that one first. Give me the other one that I gave you last time. The one that I gave you last time. That one. You see? These stones, the funny bit, you know, when we are constructing, we construct and we add cement in between bricks. These things could be constructed with no cement, anything to bind them. And the structures have stood up to this time. Yeah? No cement. Yeah? And again, some of the stones, when they see the quarries where they were being gotten from, the quarries are far away, like in Scotland, and the things are being built in very far away places. So they are wondering, how were they transported? So, did they have a technology of levitating stones? You understand, eh? Now, again, the fact that they were not using bricks, yeah? They had to be very keen on the shapes, because the shapes had to sit in. And these are real stones, by the way. That is why, go back to the other whatever of Machu Picchu in Peru. They are real stones, because I was wondering, maybe they are not real stones. They are real stones. How I know, you see here at Machu Picchu, some of these stones have been broken and they were removed and they were taken, and the Romans, yeah, and some other whatever places, they could like cut them and use them for building. But the problem, the things they used to build them with, because these are stones that are way older, and these structures, they are way older than the 6,000 years we are speaking about. Here we are speaking about structures of 11,000 years, yeah, 12,000 years. So what made me like get to, as in I was shocked, these guys could construct fences, and when earthquakes could come, yeah, the ones that took away stones from here, the earthquakes destroyed their structures. But these things, for some reason, they are earthquake resistant. For all those years, no stone has a crack. They don't crack. Yeah, they are earthquake resistant, flood resistant. Like seismology can't do anything when it comes to these structures. So what kind of technology was that? Because it is not yet discovered, ugly as they might look to you. These things are not yet what? Discovered. And over time, of course, they've been discovering like tunnels underground, some of these structures. Yeah? Tunnels, of which some of them, when you enter them, you can't even access the realms or the civilizations there. Like you're blocked. In fact, Catholics know this, and they've built a lot of their churches on top of these tunnels all over Europe. Because Catholics, for some reason, they love mysteries. You guys, you have no idea. You think you're very mystical. Those guys love mysteries. So they've built on top of most of these underground tunnels. Yeah? And all of these things, we can't just say, okay, we can say, we are saying, okay, we are, we are doing away with all of these things. I've showed you in some old teachings. I've not just started teaching on these things. There's a time I spoke about the Pyramid of Giza in the first mystery called Mystery of Time. We were in COVID, yeah? And I'm showing you all these structures. There is a structure that looks like a motherboard of a computer. Back in the days. Yeah? And these are very what? Ancient things. So of course, some of these things were lost when they burnt some of the books that speak about some of this history. When they burnt the Library of Alexandria, yeah? For you, if you know some history. But also, Catholics have also been very deliberate in hiding most of these things away. And there is that vault of theirs they opened in some year, I think a few years back, and now people are starting to access some of this information. But these things have what? Long existed. You know of the Vatican Observatory, yeah, where Catholics have a telescope and they are trying to look for aliens in the sky. In fact, their telescope is called a very funny name. The telescope is called Lucifer. Yeah. So now I've given you a recap. If you are still maybe saying, the earth is young. Yeah, I've given you a recap. Now let's go into sonship.